Thank you so much for joining me. As I said today, I'm going to show you 6 of my favorite ways to lace a pair of boots. So let's start with number 1. This is the crisscross standard. For the crisscross standard method, this is the most common method of lacing boots, and this is a pretty standard, clean way, and there's nothing really special about it. It doesn't offer any more support or anything like that, but it's just a standard, clean way of lacing your boots, and it's the option that I mostly go for because I think it looks really good. You want to start with your 2 laces, and you want to go from the outside into the boot. You're going to take both tabs of the lace, and you're going to put it into that bottom eyelet from the outside in. Make sure you have an equal length on both sides, and then you're going to take, I like to go whatever lace is going to the outside of the boot, so to the right side of the boot, I like to take that and make sure that that is going over diagonally up and into the next eyelet. Now you're going to take the other side of the lace and you're going to do the same thing, move it diagonally up over the outside of the boot and in. And you're basically going to repeat that step over and over and over again. Now, a quick note on this one, once you pick a side for like your first lace going over, stick with that side. You can do it to the left, you can do it to the right, doesn't really matter, but as long as you stay consistent, that's what's going to make it look good. Another note on this method is that just make sure that you're kind of straightening out the laces every so often to make sure that they're all in line, and that's what's going to help keep this looking really, really clean. Method number 2 is what I call the Army method, and the reason why is this is really popular in the Marines and also in the US Army. It's good for actually 2 reasons. One, it helps keep the boot leather a little bit more slack, so your ankles have a little bit more room to break in that boot. And then also, number 2 is that this is very easy to cut down the middle and get the boot off as fast as possible. So if you have a foot injury or anything like that, this is a very easy method where you could just take a pocket knife, swipe up the laces, and then remove the boot super easily like that. So that's 2 reasons why this is popular. You could use this one. I think it looks cool, and it's also good for when you're breaking in those boots and you need a little more slack in the leather. So the first step is you are going to, again, like the previous method, you're going to take your boot laces from the outside and you're going to put them into that bottom rung. So you should have a straight bar across the bottom eyelet. Once you have that, make sure the laces are equal length on both sides. And then, interestingly, you're going to, from the inside of the boot, say you're on the left side, you're going to go into the next eyelet up on the same side and go from the inside out. Go ahead and repeat that on the other side as well. So now you have what it looks like this. And now I'm going to take each lace and go diagonally and up 1. So we're going to switch sides and we're going to stay on the inside of the boot. That's important. We're not going to go outside of the boot in. We're going to stay on the inside of the boot and go diagonally either side to the outside of the boot. Once you come out of the eyelet, then you're going to go directly vertical up and in to the boot again. Take the laces, crisscross them horizontally, and then you're on the outside of the boot and repeat those steps over and over again until you have what looks like this. Next up, method number 3, this is the over-under friction free. And the reason why this one is so good is if your boot laces tend to rub a lot, if they tend to fray, this is one way of lacing your boots so that the laces, you're not causing so much friction between the leather and the boot or between the laces. So this should help your laces last a little bit longer. I don't think it looks as good as some of the other methods, but at the same time, it's going to help preserve those laces. So this could be a really good method for hiking or for any other activity. If you're going through a lot of brush and your laces tend to get frayed, this is a good method for that. Again, for this method, you're going to go take your lace and you're going to go from the outside in across that first eyelet. So you should have a straight bar out the outside of the bottom eyelet, and then your laces should be on the inside of the boot when you are done. Now that you're on the inside of the boot, pick a side. I'm going to go from right to left, and I'm going to go from the under the inside and to the outside, diagonally up 1. I'm going to repeat this on the other side so that I have an X on the inside of the boot facing down, not on the outside. Now for this method, you got to make sure these laces stay tight so that it doesn't look sloppy. So I'm going to tighten that up, and then I'm going to go from diagonally, still picking the same side. I'm going to go right to left, and I'm going to take the lace and go over the outside of the boot and back in. Now I'm going to repeat that on the other side, going from left to right. I'm going to go over and outside of the boot, back in. Now it's a matter of just repeating those 2 steps over and over again. So I'm going to take the eyelet left to right. I'm going to go from the inside of the boot out, and then the exact opposite from the inside of the boot out on the other side. Next up, swap from the inside, going over the boot, outside on both other ends. and you are done. Fourth method I'm going to discuss is called the Paratrooper method, and this is phenomenal for ankle support. So if you're going on a hike and if you need lots of ankle support, you know, it's up to you whether you think this looks stylish. I don't really personally think it looks stylish, but it is amazing in terms of keeping your heel kicked back in that boot and keeping your feet really, really snug. So for this method, you're actually going to start on the inside of the boot. You're going to take your lace and going like facing right down on the tongue, you're going to go from the inside out. So this is a little bit different than how the other three started. You're going from the inside out. Now with your laces even, let's just start with the right side. What we're going to do is we're going to take your lace and we're going to go up one eyelet just vertically, and we're going to go from the outside of the boot in, and don't pull that very tight. Keep that in a loop, and now we're going to go to the other side. Same thing, left side. We're going to take the lace, we're going to go vertical into the next eyelet from the outside going into the boot. So now that you've got these two loops, what you're actually going to do is you're going to cross your laces, but instead of going into the next eyelet, you're going to put the lace under the loop that you've created. So let's start with the right. You're taking that lace, you're putting it under the loop that you just created over there. And now you're going to do the exact same with the opposite side of the lace, into the loop, and then you're going to pull that tight. And then you kind of start to see where this is making a little bit of sense. Now you have those tight, and what you're going to do is with either side of the lace, let's start with the right, you're going to go up one vertically and into the eyelet, just like you did at the beginning. Now let's do that with the other side. You're taking the left side of the lace, you're going up one eyelet vertically from the outside of the boot in, and you're going to pull that tight again. For this method, always make sure after every move you're pulling tight, because that's going to keep this snug. This is going to keep this firm. So now you should have a second set of loops going, and you're just going to take your right sided lace, cross it over, and use that loop that you just created, put it through that. You're not putting it through an eyelet, you're just putting it through that loop, and then you're going to pull that tight. And the same exact thing for the other side. Repeat that until you are ready to finish this one off, and you are good to go. Method number 5, this is called the rope ladder, and I think this looks really fantastic on boots with, if you're using a very contrasting lace. Again, here I've got like a bright pink pair of laces. This is really for demonstration. I probably wouldn't lace it this color, but if you have say a tan pair of boots with a black set of laces, or a black set of boots with a white set of laces, this could be a really cool, really interesting looking method. Again, this one is really also good for ankle support, but I would categorize this, I would use the Paratrooper method for more support, and I would use the rope ladder more for style, even though it does still offer a lot of ankle support. For this method, you're going to start on the inside of the boot going out, so take your lace, bring it close to the tongue, and on that bottom eyelet, you're going to go from inside to outside. Make sure you get equal lengths, and then now's where we're going to do a pretty interesting move. So you lift up the boot laces, and then you're going to twist them around each other twice. As you kind of get them around once, move it around twice, and then cinch that down. So that's going to kind of lock that little loop in place. From there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to go from the inside of the boot out, and then repeat that process over and over again. So inside of the boot, going out, and then as you bring up your laces, cinch it down, make sure it's tight, twist it around twice, and then boom, lock that in place. Repeat that move over and over again. If you have to watch this one twice, go hit back a couple times, watch it again. But again, this is another pretty easy method. This is the rope ladder. It looks really cool, especially with a contrasting lace. The sixth and final method I'm going to show you is what I call the Italian corkscrew, or a lot of, I think the UK Navy also uses this on their boot laces. And this is a very common, I think in ROTC, kind of a very common, very, very easy, but super cool and classy way to lace your boots. It's one of my favorite methods. To start this one out on that very first eyelet, you're going to go from the outside of the boot in. So you're going to go back to those methods like 1 through 3, not like 4 and 5. So you're going to go from the outside of the boot in, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to kind of get a difference in lace length. When you pull this lace out, it's probably going to take a couple tries to make sure you get the right. You're going to have to do a little bit of maneuvering to make sure that this actually ends up working. But I typically do about probably 4 inches shorter length on the left side than I do on the right side. So kind of adjust your lace when you pull it out. Adjust your lace so that you're making sure you have about 4 inches less than you do on the right side. Now you're going to want to take that left lace, and that's the shortest one, that's the shorter side, and you're going to want to take it from the inside at the bottom eyelet, and you're going to go all the way to the inside of the top eyelet, and you're going to bring it out. Now take the right lace, this is the longer lace, and you're going to go over that line that you just created up the lace with the left side, and you're going to go over to the next available eyelet on the other side of the boot. You're going to go from the inside to the outside. Now, in a completely horizontal. You're not going vertical. You're not doing any sort of diagonal or anything like that. Completely horizontally. You've just come out the eyelet lace with the lace, and then now you're going to go over the boot completely horizontally, and you're going to go into the eyelet on the opposite side. Now that you have the longer side of the lace on the inside of the boot, you're going to go diagonally up to the next available eyelet and in and out. Now completely horizontally, no vertical movement at all. Go from that left side over to the right side, completely horizontally from the outside to the inside of the boot. Now repeat that step until you get as high as you can on the boot. You should be on the inside of the boot at this point, and there's going to be one more eyelet available, but it's just vertical from where you're at the end of this process. So then I just take the lace and I just loop it in through on the right side or left side, depending on where you're at. I just take it and I loop it in and then cinch it down. That should tighten everything. You're going to have to tie your boots now, and you might have a disparity. One side might be a lot longer. This is a pretty easy method to adjust, so do some adjusting. And again, make sure that if you have flat laces, that the straight bar going across all of those is straight. That's what makes this look really, really good. So make sure that those are straight, make sure those are crisp. And that is what I call the Italian corkscrew, but it is also like the UK Navy. They also do that method as well. So it is a military bootlacing style as well. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button down below, because we have a new boot review, boot guide coming out every single week on this channel. So thank you guys so much for joining me. And until next time, put your best boot forward.